the students of 8th standard are going to perform an act on the diamond necklace. She was one of those pretty young ladies, born as if through an error of destiny into a family of clerks. She had no dowry, no hopes, no means of becoming known, loved and married by a man either rich or distinguished, and she allowed herself to marry a petty clerk in the office of the Board of Education. She was simple, but she was unhappy. She suffered incessantly, feeling herself born from all delicacies and luxuries. She suffered from the poverty of her apartment, the shabby walls, and the worn chairs. All these things tortured and angered her. One evening, her husband returned elated, bearing in his hand a large envelope.
Here, here is something for you.
She quickly drew out a printed card on which were inscribed these words.
The Minister of Public Instruction and Madam George Lemponneau ask the honor of Mr. and Mrs. Loison's company, Monday evening, January 18, at the Minister's residence.
Instead of being delighted as her husband had hoped, she threw the invitation spitefully upon the table, murmuring,
"What do you suppose I want with that? But my dearie, I thought it would make you happy. You never go out, and it is an occasion, and a fine one. Everybody wishes one, and it is very select. Not many are given to employees. You will see the whole official world there. What do you suppose I have to wear to such a thing as that?"
He had not thought of that, he stammered.
"Why, the dress you wear when we go to the theatre, it seems very pretty to me."
He was silent, stupefied, in dismay at the sight of his wife weeping. He stammered,
"What is the matter?" "Nothing, only I have no dress and consequently I cannot go to this affair. Give your card to some another colleague whose wife is better fitted than ours."
He was grieved but answered,
"Let us see, Matilda. What would a suitable costume cost? Something very simple."
She reflected for some seconds, thinking of a sum that she could ask for without bringing it with an immediate refusal and a frightened exclamation from the economical clerk. Finally, she said in a hesitating voice,
"I cannot tell exactly, but it seems to me that 400 francs ought to cover it."
He turned a little pale, for he had saved just this sum to buy a gun that he might be able to join some hunting parties the next summer with some friends who went to shoot larks on Sunday. Nevertheless, he answered,
"Very well, I will give you 400 francs, but I'll try to have pretty dress."
Scene 2. The day of the ball approached and Madame Loison seemed sad, disturbed, anxious. Nevertheless, her dress was nearly ready. Her husband said to her one evening,
"What is the matter? You have been acting strangely for 2 or 3 days." "I am vexed not to have a jewel, nothing to adorn myself with. I shall have such a poverty-stricken look. I would prefer not to go to this party."
He replied,
"You can wear some natural flowers. In this season they look very nice." "No, there is nothing more humiliating than to have a shabby air in the midst of rich women."
Then her husband cried out,
"Go and find your friend Madame Forestier and ask her to lend you her jewels."
She uttered a cry of joy.
"It is true, I had not thought of that."
Scene 3. The next day, she took herself to her friend's house and related her story of distress. Madame Forestier went to her closet, took out a large jewel case, brought it, opened it, and said,
"Choose, my dear."
She saw at first some bracelets, then a collar of pearls, then a Venetian cross of gold and jewels of admirable workmanship. She tried the jewels before the glass, hesitated but could neither decide to take them nor leave them. Then she asked,
"Have you nothing more?"
Why, you can choose by yourself. I don't know what will please you.
Suddenly she discovered in a black satin box a superb necklace of diamonds. Her hands trembled as she took it out. She placed it about her throat against her dress and was ecstatic. Then she asked in a hesitating voice, full of anxiety,
Could you lend me this? Only this?
Why, yes, certainly.
She fell upon the neck of her friend, embraced her with passion, then went away with her treasure. Scene 4. The day of the ball arrived. Madame Loisel was a great success. She was the prettiest of all, elegant, gracious, smiling, and full of joy. All the men noticed her, asked her name, and wanted to be presented. She danced with enthusiasm, intoxicated with pleasure, thinking of nothing but all this admiration. This victory so complete and sweet to her heart. She went home towards 4 o'clock in the morning. Her husband had been asleep in one of the little saloons since midnight, with other three gentlemen whose wives were enjoying themselves very much. He threw around her shoulders the modest wraps they had carried, whose poverty clashed with the elegance of the ball costume. Scene 5. She removed the wraps from her shoulders after coming back home. Suddenly she uttered a cry. The necklace was not around her neck. Loisel, already half undressed, asked.
What is the matter?
She turned towards him excitedly.
I no longer have Madame Forester's necklace.
He arose in dismay,
How is that possible?
and they looked in the folds of the dress, in the folds of the cloak, in the pockets, everywhere. They could not find it. He asked,
Are you sure you still had it when we left the minister's house?
Yes, I felt as we came out.
But if it is lost in the street, we might have heard it lost. It must be in the cab.
Yes, it is possible. Did you take the number?
No, and you?
No.
They looked at each other, utterly cast down. Finally, Loisel dressed himself again,
I am going over the track to find the necklace.
and he went. She remained in her evening gown. He went to the police and to the cab offices and put an advertisement in the newspapers offering a reward. At the end of the week, they had lost all hope, and Loisel, older by 5 years, declared,
We must replace this jewel.
when Madame Loisel took back the jewels to Madame Forestier, the latter said to her in a frigid tone,
You should have returned to me them when I needed to.
After 10 years, Madame Loisel seemed old now. She had become a strong, hard woman, the crude woman of the poor household, her hair badly dressed, her skirts awry, her hands red. She spoke in a loud tone and washed the floors with large piles of water. But sometimes, when her husband was at office, she would seat herself before the window and think of that evening party of former times, of that ball where she was so beautiful and so flattered. One Sunday, as she was taking a walk in the Champs Elysees to rid herself of the cares of the week, she suddenly perceived a woman. It was Madame Forestier, still young, still pretty, still attractive. Madame Loisel was affected. Should she speak to her? Yes, certainly. And now that she had paid, she would tell her all. Why not? She approached her.
Good morning, Jenny.
But madam, I don't know. You must be mistaken.
No, I am Matilda Loisel.
Oh, my poor Matilda, how can you change?
Just because of you.
Because of me? How is that?
You recall the diamond necklace that you loaned me to wear to the minister's ball.
Yes, very well.
Well, I lost it.
How is that since you return it to me?
I returned another to you exactly like it.
Oh, my poor Matilda, mine were false. This is not our worth 500 francs.
I spoiled all my life to make my fake beauty. Oh my god.